This is one of the greatest synagogues in the country. It's a warm place, it's a friendly place, it's a vibrant place. It's a place filled with music and friendship and humor and kindness and warmth, and it's made of really sincere, genuine people.
Rabbi Cohn and Sally began the congregation in 1964. They actually had canvassed the neighborhood in the college area looking for people who had a mezuzah on the door. They would ask if they were affiliated, and if they were not, they welcomed them in. Because Rabbi Cohn had been the rabbi for many years at Beth Israel, a number of people came over from there to help them initially start the congregation. It was really an effort to put together kids for a Torah school. He had a great relationship with Pastor George Foy. Pastor Foy worked it out so that Emaun-El could hold its services on Friday nights at Rolando Methodist Church.
My grandparents loved Rabbi Cohn and loved this community, and they were a part of the founding families.
The congregation at that time, I have to think, was no more than 100 members. That was the way it stayed from 1964 until in 1976, when I arrived and took over as the assistant rabbi educator heading up the school. That Sukkot was the very first time the congregation had built a sukkah, and it was in the courtyard of the church. Our own daughter, Bethany, who was in kindergarten at the time, came home after Sunday school, after Torah school, and she had drawn a picture of Temple Emanu-El and had a steeple and a cross on top of it. I turned to Anita and I said, I think we need to find our own building. And so began a journey that really led us to this property where we are presently. We bought a vacant church that was an American Baptist church. It had been vacant for 7 years. It was in horrible disrepair. We actually cut down the 3 crosses that were facing out toward College Avenue. Don Hicks took his skill saw and cut those down, and we removed the cross from above the baptistry, which was up on the bema of the congregation, and that's where we curtained that off and we put the ark, our portable ark, there, and the congregation began growing. That was really the beginning almost of a new congregation. That summer we gained almost 100 families. I began a much more demanding Hebrew program, asking the kids to begin to really understand what the prayers were saying, to learn the Hebrew, and then ultimately, as they approached Bar Bat Mitzvah, to be able to translate what they were doing in the Torah portion, to be able to really lead a service.
I was brought in, I sang, and Marty and I started our sort of Peter, Paul, and Rabbi deal back then, because we had sort of a magic. Rabbi Lawson was sort of directing everything, and then Marty Wertley took over the Torah school and was running it. She cared deeply about this congregation and the children's Jewish education.
Quickly, we realized we just didn't have adequate space because we were bursting at the seams with kids. We had to rent space first at Hearst Elementary School, and then when that was not adequate, we went to Patrick Henry High School, and we held all of our Sunday classes there. I knew that we just had to do something to create a school. I was getting phone calls almost constantly asking if we had a preschool. So it was 1988. We created the administrative area, our Torah school, the 3 pods, the earliest preschool playground and preschool classrooms. And that campaign was $2.5 million, which was really a stretch for this congregation. But we did it. And in the midst of that, there was a financial disaster here in the community. And it wound up where a number of our major donors for that campaign had to walk away from their pledges. We ran into problems because the geologic studies that were done indicated that it was a great area to build on. When we got the bulldozers out there and started clearing the land, we hit solid blue granite boulders, and they tried breaking them up. No good. So they actually had to dynamite them.
Judy Medoff built the preschool. Rochelle Clavel was there with her. They created a great preschool. The preschool program under the direction of Judy Medoff and Rochelle Clavel was one of the best preschool programs I've ever seen, and I've worked in a lot of preschools. My first memories of how this congregation exploded with families and youth was at family services, when they would just be packed every family Shabbat. It seemed like we were at camp. The puppet theater, people came out of the woodwork just to see those puppet shows. Lenny Huisman and Michael Schwartz were the puppeteers that I remember. with the Yiddish accents, hysterical probably. The children never got the jokes, but they were so funny. And then, of course, it went to Mark Hamovich and Barry Lander, and what a tradition. Teaching Torah through a puppet show. Wow, what a way to teach children.
We didn't have an administrator during those early days. I contacted Buddy Lieberman, may he rest in peace. He had left Dayton and he had just retired, and he set up the foundations of really wonderful administration. And it was during his watch that we found Suzanne Geschachter.
We had gone into debt in building our new buildings for the schools. Phil Cohn and the rest of the leadership moved ahead to burn the mortgage.
I'm proud of this new building that we created, but I'm even prouder of the programs.
The leadership of the Social Action Committee, driven by Rabbi Lawson, would innovate by putting these programs such as the Hunger Project, the Storefront Youth Shelter, AIDS collection. I never realized that Judaism could be so warm, friendly, and joyful.
What it says above our Aron Kodesh, over our ark, the words of the prophet Amos, "Let justice roll down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream."
We are a social action congregation.
We also started family camp. A group of us, normally it was about 100 people, would go up to one of the camps, either up in Julian or up in Cuyamaca, and we would have a full weekend, Shabbat evening, all the way through Sunday, of singing together, eating together, playing together, just really enjoying what it was to be a temple family. In the 1980s, we reached out to try and help Soviet Jewry. Every Friday night at Temple, we were writing letters to members of Congress, to the president, to try and bring our people out to freedom. The educational programs, the Four Seers, creating the adult B'nai Mitzvah program for people who had never had the opportunity to become Bar Bat Mitzvah when they were 13.
It became evident that we really needed a larger sanctuary.
I look back on the day of the dedication of our sanctuary and social hall, courtyard, and campus in general, and I picture the Sifrei Torah, the Torah scrolls, being carried in by some of our major donors to make this place possible. The Cohn family, the Svets, the Spielmans, the Lipinskis, each of them stepped up to make this place happen. And so many people gave and pushed themselves to give even more than they ever thought they were going to give.
Certainly this was a year when we experienced a significant amount of loss in our community. Our job is to find ways to continue to honor their memory by carrying on the best of their traditions and living out the highest values and examples that they set for us.
I think Devorah is the right rabbi to succeed Rabbi Lawson. She will only improve the organization as it grows.
I am beyond happy to be here.
When I came back here as an executive director, I just felt like I was coming home.
We have completely revisioned our school. Our school is the place to be for Jewish education in San Diego County. It is inspirational. We're shifting the nature of Jewish education, and we are sparking an education revolution. Our emphasis here on food and food justice is enormously important to me. Caring for our neighbors and to caring for the poor and the hungry. We take those commitments seriously. Those are sacred Jewish obligations. For the past 2 years, we as a single institution have collected more food for the Hands Up Food Pantry and St. Vincent de Paul Food Services than every other synagogue in San Diego combined. Procuring and securing LGBT rights. We're working on organizing a gay blood drive, participating in the Gay Pride Parade every year. In the last year, we've created Avodah Mitzvah Corps. We have a comprehensive adult ed curriculum. I am so filled with a huge number of visions and ideas, innovative programs, things to experiment with and to try so that we can continue to be on the cutting edge.
We do not spend money that we do not have. We take our visions and then we look at them in a realistic fashion and we see what we have. There's a lot of temples that don't do that, and a lot of temples don't take that responsibility. What we have is really great. We could take that legacy of great and move it forward.
We've had a consistent and significant increase in membership over the last couple of years. We're at a place now where we're ready to go to the next level.
Since she's just fairly new, we need to help her create what we want in a congregation for the future.
We're standing on the shoulders of the people who built this congregation. Tonight, we're standing on their shoulders. I really believe that it's our responsibility, our obligation, our privilege to make sure it continues so that we can give to our kids and our grandkids what the experience, the Jewish life, the incredible memories that we got by being a part of this wonderful, this warm congregation.